timekeepers, Taya Dixon-Moline from the Lower Highlands. We have Anne Marie Page from the Centerville Action Group. And we also have Carol McCarthy from the Sacred Heart, and they're going to be the timekeepers. And we just wanted to say thank you so much for coming out tonight. You could be home, you could be watching the game, and to come out tonight and participate in the community. We really appreciate it. And we're going to open the meeting at 7:05, and I'm going to turn over to the Master of Ceremonies, to John Hamlin.
Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is John Hamlin. I'm co-chair of the Pawtucketville Citizens Council and tonight's moderator. Tonight's topic is finance, and the subheadings are taxes, the budget, and development. Our format and schedule for this evening are as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to state their position on tonight's topic, finances. Then each candidate will receive 1 question. Both the question and the candidate's name will be randomly selected, and then they will have 2 minutes to respond to that question. Just a word on the questions. We reached out to all of you for help with questions for tonight's candidate night, and we were overwhelmed with your response from all corners of the city of Lowell. We have enough questions that we could probably go through the entire candidate list 3 times. We received far more questions than we anticipated, and if you don't hear your question, we apologize. Each candidate will then have 1 minute to wrap up their platform and the thoughts on tonight's topic. So thank you again for coming. Rather than run down and do introductions, we're going to start right off with a 2-minute statement on each candidate's position on the topic of finances. Thank you. Why don't we start at this corner with Joe?
Obviously, this is one of the strengths for the current council, because the last 2 years, we've kept the taxes with no increases. And at the same time, we've increased spending by having the first capital bond in a long time. So we are seeing right now a lot of paving going on throughout the city. And 2 things have happened. The state increased how much we were going to get, so we had Chapter 90 funds increased. And now the city is spending its own money, which it hasn't done in probably more than a decade. At the same time, we also have had money left over from previous year's budgets. That's free cash at the end of the year, and we've put that towards our reserves, which has grown to the highest level it's been in probably 15 years. And we also revamped our health insurance to reduce our costs, and after a year of that, we had money left in the trust fund, which we applied to our post-employment benefits, which is essentially the health insurance costs for our retirees that we're obligated to pay. And that reduced that liability, which started out at nearly $700 million that we're going to hold in the future. So we're in good shape right now, financially, and we need to stay the course. So I hope that I'll get one of the 9 votes on.
My name is Marty Laurie, and I'm currently on the City Council of Lowell, and I'd also like to thank the neighborhood groups for hosting these. The budget's probably one of the most important, if not the most important, duty of the council. We get the budget early in May to June, and it's up to the council really to make sure that there's no waste in that budget. We have to properly fund our schools, our police, our fire. Next, what I call quality of life issues, our inspectional services, our parks and recreation, and as Joe alluded to a little earlier, extra money to find for areas like paving. It is an issue. When it comes to the budget, we've been in 2 years, we've had 2 years with really no tax rate increase. Some homes are paying more, their valuations are going up. We can bond more money, we have more money in the bank, which is good for the city. But the past 2 years, what I've learned with the budget is to be very careful on how you're gonna cut. You don't want to dip into those reserves. We have an incident this year with a lot of shootings in the city. The police, we may have to transfer more money. We have a $21.5 million budget for police. We give them $800,000. Investigations are very expensive. Public safety is very expensive. We may have to transfer more money. But over the next couple of years, the city is in great shape. We're going to be repaving more streets. We're going to be putting more money. Last year we put $2, $3, $4 million into the schools. We're going to be repaving streets. And the outlook for the city of Lowell is very good. I think the past two councils have done an outstanding job. But it's going to be up to the council to make sure those key issues, public safety, schools, recreation, inspectional services are well funded, so the city of Lowell can remain on its way. Thank you.
Good evening, Derek Mitchell, and thanks again to the host for having us here tonight. I want to reiterate what some of the previous folks said about the state of things right now. I think they're in good shape, but I think it's important to recognize what's gotten us here. We're looking at over a 5-year period, 5% increase in wages, 5% increase in employment opportunities, and we are outpacing the entire region. I think when we look at some of the factors that contribute to this, it's really our commitment to professional government. And I think as voters, this is an issue that we should really be talking more about and paying attention to. I think that we need to make a strong commitment to our professional form of government. I think we need to commit to a contract for not just the city manager, but for the administrative team that has supported this level of growth. I think that that's why you see every manager across the state has such a contract. We've had it in the past. I think we should continue, which is one way that we will maintain this trajectory in the future. The other issue that I think is vital to our tax rate is public safety. And this is something that we cannot attract new people to our community. We cannot keep people in our community. We cannot maintain property values rising or new revenue streams coming into the community if we continue to have violence like we saw last night with 2 more shootings. We've had 10 over the course of the summer. This can't be tolerated, and as leaders of the community, we need to understand that there are root causes to these issues. And like my motion last week, if we don't recognize the correlation between non-owner-occupied properties and crime rates, we don't understand that in areas where there is a higher rate of owner-occupied properties, there's a lower rate of crime, which is why we don't want to punish investors, we want to incentivize people that have an opportunity to buy their own property. We have to understand if we're not talking about addiction, we're not addressing the real causes of crime. And if we're not talking about gangs and after-school programming, we're not showing a strong commitment to crime and public safety. These are the issues that I'm going to stand on and will run on and promise to commit to.
Good evening, I'm Dan Walker. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. The City Council has a responsibility to ensure that the city provides many core services, such as public safety, education, trash collection, plowing, and clean water. But the reality is that these services do cost money. The City Council should play an active role in the budget process and to ensure that these decisions made by the administration with regard to revenues and or reductions made in a thoughtful and resourceful manner. The City of Lowell has been relatively stable financially over the past several years. The efforts to grow the reserves to approximately $16 million is very commendable, and they should be applauded for that. We must continue efforts to grow or maintain those reserves, but not at the expense of the taxpayers. I feel we should be making every effort to make sure the tax levy per thousand is as low as it could possibly be, especially with property values rising. At 20% of the city budget, discretionary spending should be utilized in a manner that promotes economic stability, and it is important that we work with the administration to see that that does happen. Generating cost savings through utilization of new online-based technology, mobile tech sites should be a constant. In addition, we should be exploring innovative resources to garner more revenue with regards to unpaid violations, such as code enforcement. We must also continue to work with our state and federal delegations to secure funding for programs and grants, youth programs and public safety, and our expendable public services. We must be active in securing funding for those programs in the future. In the light of recent events, programs such as the Shannon Grant, municipal police staffing, and safe and successful youth initiatives are critical in combating the uptick in recent violence. It's our responsibility to make sure we're all parties at the table with regards to these issues. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Jim Milanazzo, candidate for the Lowell City Council. I want to thank the citywide neighborhood group for hosting us this evening, and I want to thank you all for coming out. As you probably know, I was on the city council for 8 years, and I did serve as the mayor. And to pick up on a point that Councilman Donson mentioned about the current city council has done a very good job in not increasing the tax levy, and he's correct. But I would like to put out there that other city councils really kind of laid the foundation for where we are today. We actually have a $300 million budget, and 71% of that goes to police, fire, public works, and our schools. And we're very fortunate because we do have a state delegation that does bring in state aid to the tune of about $159 million, and our Chapter 70 money has gone up increasingly over the last few years. And it really is, all the members of the delegation should be congratulated. The city council, through the efforts of this finance subcommittee, works very hard with this administration. We do have a professional city administration. Tom Moses does a very good job. Our city auditor does a very good job. But again, it was mentioned that we have $16 to $20 million in reserves, and it really shouldn't be at the expense of the taxpayer. We need to get to a point where we are comfortable, and obviously Moody's and Standard & Poor's just increased our rating, so they feel that the city is on an upswing. And I'd like to be back on the city council to continue to manage the funds appropriately. But again, there should be a balance. We can't be looking at, and again, from the standpoint of the contracts that are now in place with 3, 4, 5% pay raises, which is fine, well deserved, our city workers, and we need to increase our police department, public safety, and so forth. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the taxpayers are getting the best bang for their tax dollars. Lowell is a wonderful community, property values are increasing, but at the same time, we need to be cognizant that it's your money that we're responsible for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Rita Mercier, and I'm a candidate for the Lowell City Council. But before I begin this evening, please let me take the opportunity to thank all of you for braving the windy evening and being here. And thanks to the organizers, Deb Forgione and the PCC and the Citywide Council, and for putting this forum together to let the public get to know us better and to express our thoughts on different issues. The topic of the evening is finance, taxes, and the budget. A key factor in people and businesses, investors and developers' interest in coming into the city is how stable is the city's finances. Moody's boosts the city fiscal outlook from stable to positive, and Standard & Poor upgraded our long-term bond rating from A to A+. I call that sound fiscal stability. Stable because this council and the past faithfully executed its top-notch oversight role by moving the free cash to the stabilization account, thus allowing us to attain and better attract rates on future borrowing and saving $1 million over the next 20 years on existing debt. Capital projects are taking shape and taxes are stable. There's no property tax increases for city taxpayers in the past 2 fiscal years, but I want to be perfectly clear that having said that does not mean that everyone's taxes stayed the same. Some taxes rose, some went down, and some, because of the market value, similar homes in the immediate neighborhood, your taxes might have increased. The fact that we did not raise taxes allows the city to invest in facilities and then maintain services while keeping taxes low. There's another sign of its fiscal stability. So thank you very much for allowing me to say just 2 things that added to that. I could have went on, but then we would have been here till 10 o'clock tonight. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank all involved in putting this forum together here tonight, and thanks to all of you for being here. But I would like to introduce myself. My name is Corey Belanger. I'm a candidate for City Council. Currently, I am Vice Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I've been on the board for 10 years, and I have gathered great experience from this. I've always voted, and I think some of the neighborhood groups can attest to this. I've always been fair, listened to both sides, gathered all the facts, and made a decision on what's in the best interest of the neighborhoods and the city of Lowell. And I will continue to do so if elected. I am currently a businessman here in Lowell for 12 years. And recently I was lucky enough to relocate to a larger venue right here in the downtown. And it was through being fiscal and being very, very responsible during harsh times. And when I say I relocated, moving outside the city was not an option to me. So I am fully vested in this city. That's how much I believe in it. During this span, I've been very, very active in the community. I am one of the original founders of Winterfest. I'm involved heavily in the Lowell Folk Festival and several other functions that go on in the city. I have committed myself and volunteered several hours into making Lowell a destination. My philosophy in government, what I want to perceive to all of you, the voters, is that if you're looking for someone who's not going to ask questions and be a rubber stamp, then don't vote for Corey Belanger. I'm not your choice. My philosophy in government is to ask questions, to make sure we're getting the best deal. And not to be challenging or to be adversarial, but it's to enlighten and educate all of you, the residents of Lowell, to where your tax dollars are going. That, to me, is the job description of a city councilor. My platform is to focus on business, economic development, and enhance our parks. But it's fast becoming public safety, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to tell you, in the last 6 months, there's been 10 shootings in the city of Lowell, and that needs work immediately. Thank you very much. I wish I could go on.
Hi, my name is Ed Kennedy. I'm a candidate for re-election. Let me be the 8th person on this panel to say that the city is in good financial shape, and that a lot of the credit for that belongs to the city administration. But let's not make any mistake about it. The way the city administration did that was by raising taxes every year, by raising fees, by cutting out non-essential services, and by putting off capital improvements. And so now things are a little bit different. This city council, for the past 2 years, has been able to approve budgets that had no tax increase whatsoever, and budgets which included restoring some capital improvements, restoring city services, and so I think that's a good thing. I think another thing that the city council did was to initiate the municipal tax lien auction, which brought in over $1.3 million last year, which should bring in close to $1 million this year. That's new money that the city never got before. Those are initiatives from the city council. You can elect a city council in November that will just embrace the administration, that will just go along with whatever they want, and when they tell you that they've got a good budget, you can just approve the budget. Or you can elect a city council that is going to challenge the administration, that's going to question the budget, that's going to question everything that the city manager does. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a healthy city council. That's the type of city councilor I think I've been for the past 2 years. That's the type of city councilor I intend to be in the next 2 years, if you're good enough to give me one of your 9 votes in November. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Eric Gitcher. I would like to ask for one of your votes in November. A budget represents a quality of life all of us expect from our government. That's why we pay taxes. In order to have a quality of life, there are 3 areas which must meet our needs: public safety, our schools, and our infrastructure. The police department has 33 less employees than it had in 2009. Ask yourself if you feel safer today than you did in 2009. Cars are being broken into, shootings are happening, people are roaming our streets late at night looking for trouble. By restoring the 33 positions, we will increase the safety in our city by 11 positions per shift, which will in turn create safer cities. As a city council, I will fight to restore the 33 positions to the police department in an effort to make our city a safer place. Our DPW, who provides maintenance to our schools and roads, has been cut 39 positions since 2009, or 26%. Are your roads in good repair and clean of debris? The DPW does not have enough employees to maintain our schools and roads. Ask a teacher what they think about the maintenance of their schools. These are quality of life issues for our residents and our children. This budget cuts 1 building inspector from DPD in a time when we are being told residents need more inspections of rundown property. All of these are quality of life issues. Quality of life is the reason all of us pay taxes. I agree we need more money in free cash, but how much free cash do we need before our quality of our life is affected? Where is the balance between free cash and quality of life? Will our bond rating change if we had $4 million in safer streets instead of $6.4 million? I, for one, want safer streets for all our residents. We will not be able to attract new businesses with a city that is unsafe. This budget is amazing, but I believe we can do better in the way of public safety and also maintaining our infrastructure. As a council, I will fight for the quality of life in our city. This budget is 348 pages of absolutely, it's amazing, and thank you.
Hello, I'm John Leahy. I'm a current city councilor. It's been my privilege to serve you for the past year. I want to thank the organizers tonight for having us here and opportunity to speak. Tonight's issue, the finances, the budget, of course you're going to hear everybody, and it is to bring good financial shape. The manager, the councils in the past, the council present, have done a good job. Our bond ratings are up. We're viewed as a very stable city. But it has come at some sacrifices over the years. And that's where I like to say that I can come in and I can be a council that stands up for the people in the community. My slogan or my platform this year has been community, commitment, and service. And it's about the community. It's about a committed council, and it's about the service that you deserve. So what I can propose is, I'm in the city a lot. I have my business here in the city, and I'm around a lot. I notice a lot of things going on. I talk to a lot of people. We've done a great job, this council in the past, the council president, I was part of it, to vote for a zero tax increase. But the business community, they're looking for some help too. We've got to find that balance between the residential tax and the commercial tax. We've got to find a balance to listen to the community, put money into police services, fire service, and schools. And as you know, I've been on the school committee for a number of years. Schools, we need some more money. Public safety, we need to put some more money into that. So over the next few years, I want to be part of that council that works with the administration to find that balance and to get some of these services back up to where they should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Stacey Hargis. I'm a first-time candidate that came here to Lowell 7 years ago and fell in love and made it my home. And I'm running for city council because we're still coming out of one of the worst economic downturns we have seen in decades. And while the economy is starting to show signs of improvement, Lowell's families want to see change happen faster. I bring experience, both working in economic development and business, to introduce policies that will make change happen faster. We must invest in public safety to improve our quality of life. We must have more business growth, not only to employ our workforce, but to keep our residential taxes down. And we must support our unique local businesses because they are one of our most important assets. But we can't do any of this without a fiscally stable city. Tonight's topic is the heart of the city's role and directly affects our day-to-day lives. We want safe, clean neighborhoods. We want state-of-the-art schools that educate and prepare our students for the jobs of the future. And we want parks to take our kids to play. What matters to residents are oftentimes the products of the services provided by the city. Our budget affects economic development through its impact on the quality of services and infrastructure, especially for new business growth. It also affects public safety, and as we know, shootings are on the rise, and residents are asking, where's the leadership to make sure that our police department is funded properly now? Our budget even affects how we encourage prosperity for families and provide for economic and community development, all things that improve our quality of life. As a city councilor, I will be vocal for residents. I will make sure we're conservative with our finances, but that we also are balanced to meet our needs. I will commit to working hard for Lowell and our future in a fiscally responsible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to thank Debbie, PCC, and all the neighborhood group, and all of you for coming out tonight instead of staying home and watching the Red Sox. You know, I like to compare myself to the Red Sox come back this year, and that's why I'm here preaching for one of your votes tonight. You know, like some of my fellow councilors stated earlier, I believe that without strong commitment to financial stewardship, sharpness of this administration, and the support of the city council, we would not be able to balance the budget, stabilize the tax rate, okay, and then improve the city bond rating. We're doing all this and address some of the goal and objective of this current council, such as put an investment in the infrastructure, such as after-school program and road and park, and public safety. Fully fund our police department to address the issue. I'll talk more about it tonight, but we still have a long road ahead of us. But we are in a solid position. We must stay the path and remain vigilant to make sure that our growth is sustainable and that our operations are both efficient and cost-effective. So let's hear some more tonight in this discussion. Thank you.
Hello, thank you all for being here. My name is Bill Martin. I've been a city councilor for 14 years and I'm a candidate for re-election. 12 of those years I've served on the finance subcommittee, so I know the budget. The budget's required by law to be balanced and we balance it every year. The fiscal outlook in Lowell, other speakers have said, has never been better in my time on the city council. And that's not come easy, that's come from difficult choices that this city council and prior city councils have made. The downturn in 2008 was bad for everybody, but it was especially bad in places like Lowell. So what did we do? We did things. We cut costs. We changed our health insurance plan offerings. That resulted in savings to the taxpayers and in savings to the employees that use those plans. A lower premium means savings for both sides. We revamped our energy consumption. We invested in new, modern, more efficient boilers, window replacements, things like that, that would have us spend less money on energy and enable us to upgrade our building systems. We rebid our trash contract this year, save over $1 million over the life of the contract under the new trash contract. We're trying to run the auditorium in a cheaper and less expensive way while still providing quality entertainment to our city. So all of those things are not without controversy. They take tough decisions. This city council has made those decisions and I've been part of those decisions. What does that do? It enables us to attract investment. Things like we have on Jackson Street in the Hamilton Canal District, $100 million of new investment in this term of the city council. That doesn't happen by accident. We continue to encourage what's going on at UMass Lowell, and with those cost savings, we're able to invest in public safety, police, our schools, our roads. $1 million more than the state requires us to spend in our schools we're spending this year. And that's because our fiscal stability is strong, our position is as good as it's ever been. Thank you.
I want to thank the Citywide Neighborhood Council for inviting us here tonight. My name is Bill Samaras. I'm looking for one of your 9 votes. Tonight is about the budget and the role that the City Council plays. It's all about oversight. It's how we review the budget and how we question the budget. To ask the right questions, questions that clarify expenditures, questions that offer solutions. And then we accept the budget. I was headmaster of the second largest high school, the size of a small town, and at one time, over 4,400 students were located there. Some students came to the school in a BMW, some students came to school after sleeping in a hallway the night before. All of the needs of those students had to be met. That's the same as the city. We have to meet the needs of everyone, every neighborhood, every person. At this point, the university is expanding, Middlesex Community College is expanding, Lowell General Hospital, the Hamilton Canals. The city budget and many of the city programs are models for the state. Lowell is ready to go to the next level, to be a college town with a downtown that is a true community center, and neighborhoods that are clean and safe. In order for that to happen, the next council must be ready to work and support these initiatives, support the management team, and let the city evolve to the next level, a city where everyone wants to come to and live. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Van Peck. I'm running for the City Council. I just want to thank the neighborhood group and everyone here tonight for giving us the opportunity to say what we have to say about the finance and budget part of the evening, this evening. As a city councilor, I want to invest in funding things like public safety, infrastructure in schools. Those are priorities I think that are the cornerstones of all the communities. Given this opportunity, when I served, currently I serve as the chair of the South Asian Water Festival, and through that, we were in a deficit for the last 10 years, and I'm proud to say I was part of that team to bring it out a little over 3 years ago. So I have some experience with finance, and and a lot of the city's financial standing is in part because of the great leadership of the city council and the city administration. I just want to be part of that team, be part of that effort. If given this opportunity, I will advocate, I will represent all the communities, and I know I can do a good job if given the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Well, you don't know me, my name is Frederick Doyle. I'm a candidate for the Upton. I'm glad you've invited us here tonight. But you know what? You look at a Christmas tree with all the bulbs and all the tinsel on it, looks beautiful. When you look under the tree and all the boxes are empty, there's something wrong. They're painting a pretty picture here, and it's not pretty. $7.8 million of the money that the state legislature passed the health insurance plan come back to the taxpayers. They took that money and put it into the retirement fund, which is $570 million in the red. Why didn't they take that $7.8 million and put $4 or $5 million to give you a break on your taxes? And then everybody up here is telling you, oh, well, the tax rate is staying the same. The city of Lowell has been revalued. If you just go home tonight and look at your tax bill that you just got in the mail, halfway down it says preliminary tax bill. You are getting an increase, and a good increase. The average house is going to go between $85,000 to $10,000. So my house has gone up $840 since he come here. If my house goes up, I'll be over $1,000. The taxes are going up, and they're not telling you the truth. I'm telling you. Look at your tax bill when you go home. That'll tell you the story. Thanks a lot.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Elliott, and I'm running for my 9th term on the Lowell City Council. Over the last 16 years, I've served 16 of those years on the Finance Subcommittee. My background, my education is in public management and finance and budgets. So I do make that the focus of my terms on the City Council is what I feel most comfortable with. Analyzing budgets, looking at loan orders, asking questions about spending issues. Now, the city has stabilized the tax rate, but it is you, it's the people that have stabilized it. You pay the taxes. And I feel my job as a city councilor is to spend your money how I spend my own. What do we need? What do we want? What can we afford? This year there was no tax increase. I think that is a very good thing. I think we can always do better. I offer reductions, I offer spending cuts, I offer cuts during the budget process, because I do think that budgets do have padding. I think there's fat in all the budgets, and I think that we can do better. Moving forward, people have, up to this point, I hear from constituents, they've had it. They can't handle any more taxes, they can't handle any more user fees, any more permit fees. So while we are poised, we have a good bond rating. We've also been the beneficiary of a good economy, to have lower interest rates. We have slowed, on the flip side, we do need economic development coming in the next 2 years. We've not only had no new growth, we've had less new growth, excuse me. It was projected in the budget 1.6 million, last year it came 1.2. So we need some economic development in the city. One of the impediments, in my opinion, is one of the highest, if not the highest, commercial tax rates in the city. That's not an incentive to expand economic growth and bring businesses into the downtown. So I look forward, I ask for your vote again on November 5th to continue to do what I've been doing for the last 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you, council candidates. As I said before, all of the questions we're reading tonight came from you. There was clearly an underlying tone to the questions, although the topic is finance. To emphasize that, I'm going to ask that Taya read the first question, and then Deb will choose a name out of the hat to answer it.
10-6 Salem Street in the Acre, 926 Gold Street in the Acre, 924 Clemente Park, the Lower Highlands, 921 Pine and Wilder Streets, Lower Highlands. 918 Lawrence Street, Back Central. 99 Broadway, The Acre. 820 Middlesex Street, Downtown. 523 Lawrence and Moore Streets, Back Central. 510 Exeter Street, Centerville. 53 North Common, The Acre. These are the 10 shootings that have occurred in the city in the last 6 months. This doesn't include the shots fired. I believe Lowell needs more sworn officers on the beat to protect us and detectives to investigate the gang and drug issues. This, along with absentee landlords, is the root of crime in our city. If elected, will you direct the city manager to allocate additional resources to public safety in the next budget? And what would you specifically allocate these resources for? Thank you.
I have advocated 2 years ago and again this year for more police officers. I think it's the paramount issue in the city. That email sums up, I think, what's going on in the city and how people think about what's going on with public safety. I think it's a huge problem. Do we need more police officers? Yes, we do. Do we need to be adding positions in the budget? I think we should be adding nothing but police officers in the budget. No people from MIS. No people, no, we don't need any more clerks. We do not need any more new positions, and that's why I made motions in the last budget to cut them, to put police officers, code inspectors, period. So, while it's nice to say we have a great bond rating, it's nice to say we have millions in reserves. I don't think that does much for me or my neighbors or the people in the city when we look almost every day, every other day, every week, and see shootings. So if we need to take some money out of the reserves and put on 10 new police officers, then we should do it. Because I think it sends a much stronger message to have more police officers. Lowell is not going to sit back and just try to do this piecemeal, make this a priority, and really get on top of what is taking place in the city. Because I don't feel that I'm as safe as we could be, we should be, and we need to take some very aggressive measures in order to do that. And there's only one way to do it, and it's to put police officers on the street.
Can you suggest ways the ordinances we already have in place can be more effectively enforced without increasing the budget?
John Leahy?
I don't know, it's almost like a trick question. I would have to say that, you know, everybody in the code enforcement offices, whether it's health or building, you know, I don't want to be the one to stand up here and say they're not doing their job. I think they do need some assistance. Whether, if we try not to increase the budget for that, well then maybe we just have to think out of the box. Maybe we have to listen to these, the people in the office, the code enforcers, and ask them, what would you think is a better way to do, what's a more efficient, what's a better way to do your job? How can we help? Personally, I do think we need a few more people in those positions, which would raise the budget in those areas. But I think maybe just thinking out of the box and making sure that we're diligent on every day, on everything that we do every day. Do we, you know, when we start the day, do we have a plan? Where are we going? What are we going to look at? And what's the objective? Maybe that's the way to do it. But I definitely think it's a start. It's one way that we're going to help keep crime down by enforcing our codes, making sure that apartment buildings are kept up, and people who are trouble that shouldn't be in our city should be asked to leave. So that would be my message. Thank you.
Thank you. Given the current perception that crime is increasing in our neighborhoods, would you support an increase in the tax rate paid by Lowell residents in order to increase the capabilities and efficiency of law enforcement personnel?
Aaron Gutierrez?
Thank you. Obviously, we need to look at the budget and make sure that it's as lean as can be before we support any tax rate on anything. But a quality of life is what we absolutely need in our city in order to attract businesses, in order for us to live better. I've been to all of the neighborhood groups meetings, and the first thing they talk about is people walking through their neighborhoods, checking the doors on their cars. We're down 33 offices. We had 366 in 2009, and we got 333. That'll add 11 offices to our payroll. Yes, we have money in the bank, but we have to see what will happen if we shrink our free cash down from 6.4 million down to 3 million. Who knows what effect that will have on our bond rating? Does anybody in here know what that would happen? We don't know that answer. So if we had 6 million, I don't recommend increasing tax rate, but if it has to happen for quality of life, that's what we're all here for. That's why we pay taxes. We want quality of life in our city. We want our kids to be able to walk down our city and have a nice area to walk in. We don't want to wake up and have someone go through our private articles in our car. We don't want to see shootings the next day. I don't like waking up to that. And if it costs me $10 or $20 more a year, then it costs me $10 or $20 more a year. But I want a safer city for our children and our elderly and all of us. Thank you.
What suggestions would you make to encourage the city to take a more proactive approach to bringing new businesses into Lowell?
Rita Mercia?
Thank you very much. I have a motion on the agenda for tomorrow evening, and I don't want the neighborhood groups to feel slighted, but I think you've done a tremendous job, and you are a main piece of the puzzle, and I think we work very well together, the city and the neighborhood groups. We have a very good relationship. But my motion on the agenda is saying, where's their relationship with the businesses? I really don't see it. And I don't mean just the businesses in the downtown, but I mean the businesses in the city. I think they have concerns. I think there are panhandlers that are prohibiting people to frequent their establishments because they're begging for money. It's not against the law, but they should be asked to move on. We're missing something here. How can I try to sustain businesses to come in the city when the businesses that we have are suffering because we don't have a dialogue going back and forth? So tomorrow evening, we're going to be discussing that, and I hope that we put together faster a relationship, a team, a committee to talk back and forth than we did with the gang summit that I requested. I'm getting angry. I don't want to get angry, but that's what I'm saying. So the suggestion is let's talk, let's form a friendship, and let's start tomorrow when I make my motion. Thank you.
The city pension system is a huge financial burden to the city. Last year, the city contributed $16 million. Would you support measures to manage this cost more effectively? And if yes, what suggestions do you have?
Derek Mitchell?
So I think that this is an issue that's a challenge across the country. I think when we look at our budget, and a lot of people are talking about the cash reserves, I think that we've actually made some responsible decisions. I think there's $7 million that are allocated to unfunded liabilities. The way that works, by the time those unfunded liabilities come due in 2030, those reserves will be worth about $32 million based on some projections on interest rates. I think that we're making the responsible decisions now to plan for the future. And I think that that's what we need to continue doing. I think our pension system, for the most part, is funded to take money out now would be costing us more down the road. And again, this is one of the goals of professional management, is that it's a depoliticized position. They can look into the long term. They can have a 10 or 20 year time horizon in decision making, whereas us politicians have to always consider re-election. And while we are influenced by the day-to-day political sways, professional city management can look 5 or 10 years into the future. That's what we've done by funding our unfunded liabilities, and that's a huge contributing factor to that bond rating. I think we need to continue on that course, which is why I think we need to continue to support our professional management structure we have in place.
Lowell is constantly striving to become a destination city. Many ideas from festivals to attracting, developing artist workspace have been tried. In your opinion, what programs have worked? And if elected, what ideas would you explore or programs you would advocate for?
Yes, Manu?
Thank you. You're right. Lowell is a destination city. It's a city of immigrants. as a city of immigrants, you know, like all neighborhood, each neighborhood is unique and should be represented in all segments of government, including city council. It is healthy to have people who representing all aspects of the city. And that has been, you know, has always been the issue here. And fairness is important here as well, is that to have representatives entire city, whether that be the police department, fire department, school, every department. So that's what I'm striving for, and that's where we need to have that diversity reflecting what we talk about, the diversity in the city. And the destination of our city is incumbent on this newcomer to build the city, you know, from people before them. So thank you.
Thank you. When the city manager took office, one of his goals was to eliminate homelessness in 10 years. What progress has been made in this area, and what ideas do you have to help this initiative?
Marty Laurie?
Thank you. Well, I was the councilor who proposed that the city work to get rid of the homeless camps along the river. But we didn't just get rid of the camps. What we wanted to do and what I wanted to do was offer medical attention and housing. Do it with dignity. And as you look across the river now, the camps are gone. We had a call recently to ask for the statistics. I think 5 or 6 out of the first 15 might have gone into detox. Some went home, some went into housing, and I'm sure some stayed on the street. I also put in the motion to get the ordinances for the panhandlers. To me, it's one and the same. And again, if the panhandlers are looking for money, get them help or get them housing. It'd probably be more help in terms of detox. This question was posed in the Acre last week, or 2 weeks ago, to a young lady who's not here tonight, Miss Doyle. And she said crime is down in that area, break-ins in cars, break-ins in homes. I think it has worked. Why the manager hasn't done it? I think Lowell has an office here. We have a regional transit office where towns bring homeless people, and that's my understanding. And you're not going to get rid of homelessness in the city of Lowell when you have surrounding towns bringing the homeless to Lowell and dropping them off. What we have them is on the South Common and in various areas. So I think the manager, with a little push from me, did go in one direction, and we did get help from many people. But as far as I know, the town still brings the homeless into the city, and how do we deal with that? I think that's another chapter down the road. But I think for the homeless we did have in the city, we did have some remarkable progress over the summer. Thank you.
The number of police officers has decreased slightly since 2009, but the public perception is that crime is increasing. How would you determine how many police officers are necessary?
As you all heard, we have lost some officers in the last few years, let go, and you know, public safety is probably the cornerstone of any community, really is. You know, I think we'll be creative on how we can address issues and funding with the police department. We can look into more state and federal grants. We can look into more partnerships and collaboration with other police entities such as UNESCO, Sheriff's Department. We can even look into increasing and utilizing more of the auxiliary unit, the Lowell Police. So that's my answer. Thank you.
If there was a surplus in the city budget, more money coming in than going out, how would you like to see the surplus money allocated? Or where would you like to see the money get spent?
Jill Mendonca?
Well, that would certainly be lovely. I think everyone up here would think that was great if we had money we could just spend. That's not the reality. Now, where would I spend it? Clearly, right now, we need to invest in public safety and our police department. And although, I mean, the previous question said that the number of police officers gone down, it's not because the council cut them. It's because of retirements and the amount of time it takes to refill. We've actually added positions over the last couple of years, and we're now higher than we have been. Unfortunately, some of those positions are vacant because as soon as we get the slots filled to go to the academy, there were more retirements, leaving additional vacancies. I would also like to really take a hard look at the fire department because for years now, we've had rotating closings at fire departments. So sometimes there's not even an engine that's in service there. And so we need, if we have the funding, to be able to have enough firemen there in order to fill those shifts so that those engines can be in service when we need them.
Thank you, Bob. Short and sweet, what suggestions do you have that will help attract businesses to Lowell?
Bill Samaras?
Well, I think Lowell is an inviting city in the first place. But if you want to attract business, naturally the commercial rate has to be looked at. But I think as a city council, we have to start thinking about the image that we project for the city. We have the folk festival, we have many other programs that are quite entertaining and people look forward to coming here. There's the art program that's in the city, the artist lofts and what is happening in the city. But when you look at why would businesses come to Lowell, let's talk about it. It's going to come to a place that they have a chance to make some money. Why would they make money? What does Lowell have to offer? First of all, the expanding university, the expansion of the hospital, we talked about that, the expansion of Middlesex Community College, the idea that Lowell will become a college town. When it becomes a college town, it talks about a different style of life, a quality of life. You have the condominiums moving, the people moving into the condominiums in the downtown. These condominiums are beautiful, and people are coming from Concord, from Westford, from the surrounding communities to move into Lowell. Why are they moving to Lowell? Because city life has become attractive. I think as a city council, working with the city manager, we have to ensure that this city is truly a destination city. It is truly a place where people want to be. So it has to be safe, it has to be affordable, and it has to have the will to be successful. We have an ethnic diversity that's second to none. We have the people that want this city to work. I think that's why businesses will come to Lowell. Thank you.
We have one of the highest commercial tax rates, and we constantly compete with New Hampshire for development. Our commercial property values are at the maximum shift, which is 175%. Would you consider using 10% of the reserve fund to bring down this rate to attract business development into the city?
Ian Rook?
I would listen to any option to bring down the commercial tax rate. To hear some ideas the previous forms of capping the rate or doing whatever we can to attract more business to the city. And the reason why we want business to come to the city is to give Lowell residents more disposable income, money that they do have to spend for local businesses. And once again, any type of help we can give businesses that are here, that will hopefully come here, be an added benefit to the city. I know that the planning development work very hard what they do, and again, they need to assist to them as well to see certain ideas and the successful businesses we do have in Lowell. We reach out to them, talk to them, see what their ideas would be to bring in more business to the city. Obviously, if a business rate brings in more money on that side, the commercial rate, the residential tax rate stays low. So that would, I go for that. Thank you.
Do you think the current administration is doing a good job with the city budget? And what's one thing you would do to improve it?
Bill Martin.
As I said earlier, I think my opening remarks made it pretty clear that I do think that we are doing a good job with the city budget, like the administration, but I think the city council, that's its primary role, is to approve the budget. The short answer to that question, I think, is yes. I think the administration has done a great job, and I think we have confirmation of that in the bond rating reports from outside agencies that confirm that the outlook for Lowell is good and the city is on the right track. As to what can be improved, I think certainly the public safety departments need to look at how they're going to staff for the future. And I think that's a function of budgeting primarily, but not just budgeting. In the fire department, which was mentioned earlier, we have closings that are company closings almost every shift. I think it's times, that response times have been, I guess it's easier to get to fires now in some places. I think we could look at some consolidation of stations so that we're not closing shifts, some modernization of stations, some modernization of responses. We have more paramedic calls than fire calls. So I think that's something we can look at. We can look at police precincts being located in new stations, more public safety stations across the city. I think that's a long-term goal that the city should have, how we're going to look at policing and firefighting into the next century, and that is primarily a function of the budget. So I think that's one area we have for improvement that lies ahead. But overall, I think the work of this city council, the work of this administration has been well recognized for being on the right track and being a solid fiscal place to do business.
New Mass DEP regulations, that's the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protections, will require any company or organization that produces more than 1 ton of organic waste a week, including refuse such as weeds and manure, to dispose of it by composting. Are you in favor of bringing composting to Lowell as a cost-saving solution to solid waste disposal? And would you be supportive of the construction of a composting facility in the city?
Jim Melanazzo.
Thank you for the question. It's an interesting question in that Lowell, as you all know, is very landlocked in that we only have 13.5 square miles. I don't know how large this composting facility would have to be in order to adequately deal with decreasing the amount of waste that would be generated by a population of 106,000. Something that I would certainly be willing to look at. I would be willing to look at it from a regional perspective and work with the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments to actually begin and plan for that type of facility in the greater Lowell Merrimack Valley area. I certainly think that as we go forward and we become a green community, just look at the building programs that we've done, working with Amoresco and others throughout the city. We clearly have put our best foot forward in dealing with energy and trash-related issues. But for a city the size of Lowell, with only 13.5 square miles, something like that may end up out here in Pawtucketville, and I certainly wouldn't necessarily be supportive of something like that. But I do think it's something that would need to be looked at from a regional perspective as we go forward, and that's something that, if elected, I would certainly, if it comes before the city council, I would certainly work with the regional planning agency and the Department of Environmental Protection. We have an office right here, I believe it's in Chelmsford, to work with those folks there to make sure that we put a plan forward, probably a feasibility study at first, and then go forward with implementation. But I do believe it needs to be done at a regional level. Thank you.
Thank you. In the last 2 years, the city manager did not put out to bid some very large contracts, such as the waste and recycling contract and the fire alarm contract. Do you support this approach of not putting all contracts out to bid, and why?
Stacy Harkins.
So interesting. I definitely would need to do a little more research about this, but I can pull from my own experience trying to manage a budget and trying to run a program every day. And we have a rule that anything over 5,000 you have to put out to bid, and there's a reason for that, so that you can make sure you're using money the most efficient way possible. So I don't know what the exact number is when the city manager has to do that, but I definitely think that's something that we should be looking at. And so yes, I would say yes, I would definitely be in favor of putting things out to bid at a certain level. I just don't know exactly what level that should be at this point. I would also like to just say what else is important is the fact that over the last 7 years, we've definitely seen an improvement in our financial stability in the city. And I think that really does speak to the professionally run government that we have. And so I think also in that question is asking, is the government being run professionally? And it absolutely is. It's transparent and it's fiscally stable, as we're seeing. I also want to point out that long-term planning is really important, and when you look at the FY14 budget, you see something in it that I found really interesting, and that was that we bought back the streetlights from National Grid, and that's saving us $400,000 a year. And that kind of savings doesn't happen unless you are being run by a professional government that is completely transparent. So I think I answered the question. Yes, I'd be in favor of it, but I just also wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Do you think the city should raise property taxes on non-owner occupied residential properties to generate money for code enforcement? Could you explain your response?
Why should we raise it when they're not taking care of their property? I gotta say something to get off the question. Read the papers tomorrow. You want to see how the city does things. The states come in and take over the whole housing authority on October 24th. They don't do anything. You just got to smarten up and look at these things. This government is dysfunction. And that's all I got to say. It's a shame.
Thank you. The city council pushed the city manager to reduce healthcare costs. That saved the city millions. What similar cuts would you support to maintain a zero tax increase?
Corey Belanger.
Thank you very much. Well, being on the Board of Appeals for 10 years, I don't have much experience with the budget, but, you know, increase in taxes is a last resort, okay? Now, what I watched in the spring, early summer, was the budget be proposed at the City Council, and I saw 3-4 city councilors willing to rubber stamp that budget without asking one question, okay? And I already made it clear that will not be my style of government. Now, what I propose to do with the budget is go through it line item by line item. We've already made enough cuts. We've cut jobs, we've cut insurance, we have brought city employees to their needs, and they will tell you that. I talked to several of them. I don't know where we can go. I don't want taxes to go up, but there's money, out of a $300 million budget, there's got to be something we can do. First, we have to concentrate on increasing revenue, and I propose that last week's forum, corporate sponsors for our parks, stadiums, and open spaces. There's hundreds of thousands in untapped revenue in there that can be done in a tasteful manner. That's one avenue I'd like to go. So cuts, I have not even considered any cuts at this point, but I want to look at the budget line item by line item like I've been doing in business for the last 12 years and see what we can afford to cut and what we cannot. But I think it's there. I think it can be done. We can increase revenue and make some cuts in some certain departments that do not affect city services. Police, fire, parks and recreation, because our streets are dirtier than they used to be, and our streets aren't as safe as they used to be at the same time. So without cutting city services, I will look I will scrutinize the budget item by item, ladies and gentlemen. You have my word on that, to make sure property taxes don't increase from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In 2012, the City of Lowell launched a community garden program, making it possible for residents and organizations to start community gardens on city-owned land. Now, studies have shown that urban community gardens increase property values by as much as 9.5% within 5 years. I didn't know that. Would you support community gardens as one viable strategy for economic development, and why?
And Kennedy?
The answer is yes. I've had an opportunity recently to look at some of the community gardens. I think that the people that run that program do a great job, and I think it should continue and expand. I'm not sure that it has a huge impact on economic development. I think there are other things that we could do that would probably create more economic development than community gardens. But I think it's a quality of life issue for the city, and I think that I think that they're really good. I think it's a real good idea. Thanks.
Thank you. In just a minute, we're going to get on to the third and last part of our program, where each candidate has 1 minute to wrap up. Just a couple of notes. First of all, most of the candidates will be available after this event. So if we didn't get to ask your question, or if another question came up that you'd like to ask one or more of the candidates, please come down, shake their hand, and ask them the question. And the second thing is, you are all part of neighborhoods. And there are people in your neighborhood that might not be able to get out to vote. They don't drive, they need a little help getting around. And it sure would be nice this November if you just knocked on the door of that neighbor and asked if they would like a ride, or if they need some help to get to the voting booth. It's more important to understand the issues. It's equally important to actually go and vote in November. What we're going to do now is we're going to hear from each candidate a 1 minute cap on what their thoughts are on the issue of finance, budget, development in the city of Lowell. And I think we'll just start at that end and work our way down. Rodney.
Thank you. Again, my name is Rodney Elliott. I'm running for re-election to the City Council. Moving forward, we heard a lot of talk tonight about where we are financially. What we need to be thinking about is, where are we going financially? The city manager has made it abundantly clear that in the next 2 years, taxes are going to go up. I don't support that. I think that there are ways, there are means, there are opportunities for continued savings to look at those areas where there are spike increases, whether it's buyback sick, whether it's pension reform, workers' compensation, unemployment costs. These are the big ticket items in the budget that we need to get a handle on and we need to work on. You know, I heard tonight a lot about professional management and they want to move forward. I think every single manager, whether it's John Cox, Brian Martin, and those before, they had their own strengths. I think that they were professional. I think the manager may have some strengths when it comes to finances, but I think there's a whole slew of areas operationally where there needs to be improvement. I want to go back to the council and be your watchdog and continue to keep an eye on the manager. That's what our job is. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I'll make it short and sweet. I wish you'd vote for me on Tuesday, but I want to leave you a little ditty. I read a book one time, and it was about a politician, and they kept saying, you know, he's a ton to take and this and that. And the man died, and he was on his deathbed, and he went up to the bed, and he said, geez, if he had it to do all over again, he'd do it different. Like how he said, and I'm telling you, like how I'd do it no different either. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to all the organizers and people involved tonight. This is a great opportunity for all of us to share ideas and thoughts on the city's finance and budget. As a city councilor, I will invest in safety, in infrastructure, in our schools. I want to work more closely with our delegation to find state and federal funding. There's always funding for cities like Lowell. So given this opportunity, I know I can work with the city council and with the administration to further the efforts of the city. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everybody tonight for coming here. As I stated, I feel I bring a certain skill to the table, a management skill. Just as an example, when the budget at Lowell High School was cut, I made sure the student programs were given a priority. That's like the police and the fire. Boston Magazine named Lowell High School one of the 25th best high schools in the state. based on not just MCAS scores, but on how the money was spent. It's about management, and that's what I want to bring to the table. In 1991, when I took over, there was a severe economic downturn, and I lost most of my scholarships. I created the Campaign for Educational Excellence. We raised $4 million. What this is all about is about getting things done. I will ask the right questions, questions that will offer solutions. I want to be a voice of reason in the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. My name's Bill Martin. I'm running for re-election. As I spoke earlier, I think the city is in solid financial shape. I think that's the topic of tonight. But I do agree with some of the other comments. We should be talking about the future and where we're going to go. And I think the one missing piece that's been missing the last few years is economic development and job creation. I think the city is well positioned to capitalize with our urban renewal plans on our share of economic growth as this region's economy continues to rebound. There are people in Lowell who are still kind of down and out, down on their luck, but Lowell has never been a city where we're down on our luck or down and out completely. Lowell always comes back, and I think we're going to come back from the recent economic distress stronger than we ever have been. I'm going to continue to push for economic development and job creation, especially in our downtown, but throughout our city. That's why I'm running for re-election. That's why I ask you to vote for me. Bill Martin, thanks very much.
Thank you again. My name is Weston. Look, this tax, budget, violence, and shooting, they all tie together with the administration and the finance. How to fund our police department and fire department is very important to me, particularly the police department with the recent shooting. I was one of the council who voted to fully fund the overtime police this year. And I'm open to address how we can expand the police force, but also important, not just the number of police officers, how we look at the root cause of this problem, bring all the players together to address this issue, particularly the resident who are affected by this the most. Because when you have the resident and community engaged and involved, a lot of this issue will be addressed. But it can't be addressed by having more officers on the street alone. It needs to have everyone involved. Thank you very much.
I want to thank the neighborhood groups again for organizing all these events, and thank you all for coming out this evening. It's really great to see so many people involved, and I hope everybody asks at least 5 people that they know to participate in this process as well. Also, if there's any question that you didn't hear my answer to, certainly connect with me. I love talking with people and hearing what everyone's concerned about. We have seen some successes, obviously, in the last few years, and even during an economic downturn. We were able to create a surplus, we didn't have to raise residential taxes, and we've improved our operational efficiencies at the city. Companies and people want to move here because we have great education institutions, a vibrant arts and culture community, affordable housing options, and a skilled workforce. But we still face challenges. Families are still struggling to get by. Many are still trying to build up their savings accounts, and many of us are, not us, sorry, I am employed, but many are still unemployed. I will commit to doing the work necessary to ensure that taxpayers' best interests are always the deciding factor in every decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Thank you to the organizers. My name is John Leahy. I'm a candidate for City Council again. Tonight's forum, very important. One thing that I'd like to add, we've all talked about, where we are and where we're going. That's very important. I think right now, as we look around the city, the University of Lowell is transforming before our eyes. And we need to get on board with them and make sure that we ride the success that they're having. I think it can come down to jobs. We can keep these graduates here. We can get them to invest in the city, start up their job, their businesses here, and that's one way that working with the university, we're going to keep Lowell moving forward and bringing the taxes that can go to the other important items that we discussed tonight, public safety, education, and that's going to keep families here also. So that would be one suggestion for me. Thank you very much. I'm John Leahy. I'm running for City Council.
I'm Eric Kitcher. I'm running for Lowell City Council, obviously. I had a chance to go over 348 pages of the budget, and there are interesting things when you look at it. They pulled the water and the wastewater out through the years, and that takes our fees away. Right now, the wastewater has $8.9 million in surplus. Right now, the water has $3.4 million in surplus. Maybe if we control those rates, lower them, it will offset some of our tax increases. That's one thing. When you start looking at it, I ran for city council because I wanted to get involved in the quality of life. And when you look at the budget, you look at this 366 offices in 2009. There were 333. It's on page 167 of your budget. Take a look. And why I got involved is I coach little kids in baseball, and I want the quality of their life better. And I got involved because I want the quality of your life better. I'll stand up here, I'll read through everything, and I'll be your voice. I promise you that. Just like I am on Greater Lowell. There's no challenge that I won't go after if I believe in the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ed Kennedy. I'm a candidate for re-election, and I'm running as a candidate who is committed, experienced, and qualified. I have lived in Lowell all of my life, raised a family in Lowell. I have a master's degree in public administration, and I served on the city council previously for 4 terms in the late 70s and early 80s. So this term that I'm just completing now is either my 5th term or my first term, depending on how you want to look at it. Back in the 70s and 80s, when I served on the city council, I came onto the city council during the worst of times and left during the best of times. I think that if we're going to continue to keep the city financially sound, keep the tax rate down, the only way to do that is by broadening the tax base. And the best way to broaden the tax base is through economic development. I am absolutely committed to being much more aggressive on economic development than we have been in recent years. I think that we have opportunities that will present themselves to us in the next few years and that we should. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks to all involved tonight, both in attendance and all the organizers. Thank you for this opportunity. But I think I've expressed myself with who Corey Wang is going to be as a city councilor, as an independent voice that's going to work hard and fight for you. I think I proved that over the years of my service to the city. But, you know, I think I have vision and ideas for the city regarding economic development, regarding our parks and open spaces, whether it's two-way traffic in downtown. I've always made a stance and brought an idea to the table. But this is all going to be undermined, ladies and gentlemen, unless we don't address this public safety issue that's going on in the city of Lowell. Now, once again this morning, Lowell was on every major television network in New England, another shooting in Lowell. So I don't care what we do, what we bring to the table, and that includes myself. If we don't address this public safety issue immediately, we're going to be on the wrong path, that's for sure. I don't want to see Lowell become the way we used to be years ago with all the boarded up buildings, so that is simply not an option. So I'm going to face the issues head on with no fear, ladies and gentlemen, so I want you to know I'm going to fight for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The job of a city councilor is to take in information, determine the significance of it, and vote in the best interest of the community as a whole. For the past 18 years, I have done that. I've questioned many line items on the budget, and if the answer I was given makes sense to the well-being of everyone involved, then my support was always there. I supported more infrastructure improvements and increase in the use of park service by offering more recreation for the youth of our city. I have always supported public safety, and this is one area that I would not cut. For an unsafe city is not a destination city. On Tuesday, November 5th, please allow me the opportunity to continue to serve you by casting one of your 9 votes for me, Rita Mercier. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, my name is Jim Milanazzo, candidate for the Lowell City Council. My vocation, as many of you know, is that of a banker. However, my avocation is that of a public servant. And I did enjoy my 8 years as a Lowell City Council, including those years as the mayor. As we talk about the budget, we talk about a 348-page document. There's actually projections in this document for the next 4 fiscal years. And there's a structural deficit of $4.2 million beginning in FY 15, 16, 17, and 18. And to me, that's a very serious situation, and I would like a seat at the table to talk about how we're going to deal with that structural deficit so that we're not impacting our tax rate. We talk about economic development. We truly do need to broaden our economic development base. We need to look at the Tanner Street area. We need to look at the city's master plan that this current council voted on to make sure that we can generate job opportunities and bring businesses into the city. Grosse Pointe Tower is for sale again. That's an important issue that this city needs to now deal with. Thank you very much. I appreciate your considering the election.
Thank you once again. My name is Dan Rock. It's been a valuable experience being up here and hearing these answers. My job as a probation officer is required to negotiate, collaborate, and make decisions which are in the best interest of the community. Those are the qualities I hope to bring to the City Council. As stated before, the main responsibility of the City Council is to ensure the city provides its residents core services at a reasonable rate. And as your City Council, I will make sure that that trend does continue. As for your vote November 5th, once again, thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Derek Mitchell. Thanks again for the opportunity to speak. Two things happened in my life recently that have both informed and also confirmed my commitment related to taxes. One, my father lost his business and his house, and my wife and I have been supporting him. The other thing is that we've knocked on over 4,000 doors in Lowell, and on the other side of many of those doors are individuals that are living on fixed incomes, pensions that don't rise with inflation rates. And I think it's crucial that we understand these individuals as folks that have helped Lowell get to where it is today, and we need to make sure that we're supporting them. Last week I talked about the Duster program to provide resources for individuals in that situation to support their homes so they don't deteriorate. I also would like to expand the rebate program for seniors on fixed incomes to be able to lower their tax rate beyond that of the regular residential rate. Thanks, Derek Mitchell.
Thank you. Before I start, I'd just like everyone to acknowledge the great job John did tonight. One of the good guys in the city. Thank you very much for attending tonight. You know, for 2 years we've had a budget now with no tax increase. I'll fully fund the police, the schools, the fire, the parks, and with the money we have now, we can invest in the infrastructure. If we want to lower the business tax rate and keep a stable tax rate here in the city, we're going to have to invest in the infrastructure, road, bridges, to bring these companies in. And as far as the police go, you know, you have to be a little innovative. It's just not pumping money to the police. We have a great force. They need some help. 2 years ago, I brought in a motion to send a letter down to the State House asking them to allow cities to become victims, where we could go down and actually tell them what crimes are doing to our neighborhoods. Today I was on the phone with the manager's office. Many of the police departments, women. Okay. But I was on the police with the manager today asking for the federal government's help with this drug trade in the city. The federal government is saying, well, it's marijuana, they're turning a blind eyes, it's legalized. We have a war in this city, we need help. And I put the call in today. You have to be innovative. Thank you.
I'm Joe Mendonça. It's almost over. The only thing that I object to is being called the rubber stamp of the manager. When it came to budgeting, I would join the group that voted against the manager in order to keep our taxes level for 2 years. The manager got the message. The second year, he didn't ask for an increase. And also, I've been voting against the contracts that raise salaries by 7%, because we can't keep taxes down to 0 while we increase our expenses. Something's got to give sooner or later. So I just want to apply some prudence to what the decisions we make going forward, and I hope I can earn one of your 9 votes in the next election. Thank you.
Okay, 3 quick items. The first is thank you. Thank you very much for all the candidates. Do not kid yourself. These people are working very hard to listen to you, and they're working very hard for your vote. Thank you all for coming, sacrificing the baseball game to make our city a better city. Thanks to Ray Booton for the sound system. Nice stone with your name on it up at the field house. Congratulations. Thank you to the fabulous leaders of the Lowell Citywide Neighborhood Council who kept Marty Lori to 1 minute, as well as all the other candidates. And for those of you, the last item, for those of you who really do want to come and talk to a city councilor or our city councilor to be, and don't have a question, I have about 20 that I haven't used. I'll sell for $2 a piece. Or you can have a used question for $1. Thank you very much. Get home safely.